what will it take for cryo characters to be good again? All right, we're going to discuss this, and I think we're going to go ahead and I'll show you guys what my current team looks like, and it's a team that really is strong, and overall you would not think that the character, would be bad, but honestly we could consider Ayaka pretty bad on this team. So she's on MH set right now, so she's looking like this. It's kind of like a weaker Blizzard Strayer if I had to say anything about it. You're losing 15% damage bonus on the burst and 4% crit rate, but overall it doesn't, like, that isn't gonna change my opinion on is Ayaka bad. I'm gonna be honest. The reason why we're specifically talking about Ayaka here is because if you want to do damage with Ganyu and Risley are just gonna go ahead and use melt teams if you want to do damage with them. Like, melt teams are just far superior. They have Mavuika. Whereas it's not as simple for Ayaka because her freezing or, her melting isn't that great. So Ayaka can't really melt on a lot of her attacks, so it really overall kind of hurts her because, I mean, every other cryo character got buff. Well, she did get buffed with Mavuika, but let's be real, Mavuika's doing her entire damage run with her one singular burst. Let's go ahead, let's use the team now. We'll use the team now. But yeah, Mavuika buffed her, but not in a good way because Mavuika's off-field damage is really what buffed Ayaka, because Ayaka's damage is just so low. But hey, we're here to talk about not, Ayaka, being mid or anything. We're here to, show off how strong we can be. Let's go. Come on, Ayaka. I love using so many of those, and then we have 50,000 damage and then 14,000 damage from our normals. Great. I mean, we did decent amount of damage there, like 700,000, I think, maybe 800, almost a million. My C2 Mavuika could do 1.2 million, entirely just completely destroy Ayaka in the entire way. So what does it take for Ayaka to be on Natlan character level? We'll just say that, right? What we're really looking to do here is make a Freeze Chevy, right? So, all right, let's talk about my team and why it's looking really bad for these older cryo DPSs, because they just can't keep up. So, Shieldon, she's giving 36% Res Shred. I believe that is what it is. Yeah, 36% Res Shred and 65% damage bonus because I have her weapon. So, already, I mean, that's fine, though. That's fine, though. Anybody could have Shieldon plus her weapon. That's a very easy thing to do. Well, I say very easy thing to do. You just got to save up, right? That's, if you're dedicated enough, you can do that. But people definitely don't have C2 Shieldon. So automatically, we kind of have to say, okay, next character needs to have 60% crit damage. They need to give cryo characters 60% crit damage. So, I mean, that's not implausible because we do have a character like Kujosara who gives electro characters or electro damage 60% crit damage. So it's not impossible for them to start that, right? 4-star C6 gives 60% crit damage. However, that was nowhere near enough. So let's go ahead and look at the weakest link, Shinha. Why is she the weakest link, and what does she do on the team that we're going to basically need, and then some? We already discussed we need 60% crit damage. However, Shinha is doing something that no other character in this team can really do, and that is particle generation. She's generating cryo particles, which funnel into Ayaka and absolutely help her out, right? And the reason why it helps her out a lot is because, well, Ayaka here, she has 80 energy costs. That is super high. It's been something that we've always saw as like a negative for Ayaka, right? So we're gonna need someone to be able to hold Favonius and be able to buff up, cryo particles, right? We need, to giga charge Ayaka's energy, right? Because this is a low energy recharge build. I'm at 111%, right? Because I was only doing the one rotation, so I didn't figure it would be a big issue, right? But this is pretty bad for Ayaka, right? So that's one thing that Shinha, the weakest link, is doing. And you can see that, Shinha is providing 30% damage bonus through her passive talents, if you just press skill. And overall, that's going to be something that we definitely want to see. And then you can even go further into it, where Shinha is only decreasing the res by 11%. Now, it maxes out at 15%. So 15%. So we're going to need some, like, at the bare minimum, someone to 11% res reduction and 30% damage bonus at the bare minimum. And you're going to need to go ahead and you're going to need to take Shinha's buff and add it to this character. So this character right now that we're designing is looking pretty beefy. They got 60% crit damage, 11% res shred, a flat damage buff, and also 30% damage bonus. That is a character, that's a good skill set, which is crazy how we need better than that, specifically for Cryo. I mean, it's almost like Shinha should have done more. But I think we can get rid of the flat damage bonus because I really don't see it being a huge thing for our character. I think our character can plausibly just go ahead and give like 60% attack, 40% from, you know, their base kit, and then 20% from a set like Noblesse or something, right? So they can go ahead and they can do that, right? That'd be pretty good. However, we are going to need to bump that res shred up to at least 30%. I would honestly say 30 to 40%, maybe even 60. 60% res shred for Cryo characters would be insane. And, you know, I gotta say, would that be enough? This is why I just don't see these characters making a comeback. They are too weak. They are too bad. It's just... would this even be enough? All of the things that I have listed here, would this even be enough to make Ayaka do like 2 million damage easily, right? Because that's what we're looking for, right? You know, a 2 million damage rotation easily. That's really what we're looking for. Whereas we got, you know, maybe 1 million before. We need some pretty nasty stuff. I think there is a plausibility that what this character could do is give like extra crit rate also. So that way you can invest more into your crit damage or something, right? So, I mean, I think like an extra 15% crit rate also is plausible, right? I feel like people are like so like, oh, it's super easy for them to buff Cryo, but this character that I'm describing is like a maybe they're better. Like, you know, 60% res shred, 60% crit damage, 15% crit rate. We're probably going to need to throw some damage bonus in there, so let's go ahead and throw 40% damage bonus in there. They're going to need like 60% attack. So like all of this stuff, I mean, it's a lot of 60%, I get it, but I mean, that's kind of where we're at now. We kind of need those insane buffs, and we can even look at Ayaka's base attack here. Let's go ahead and see over 1,000. So they could plausibly give, you know, 60% attack, and that would give us an actual 50% raw attack buff, which in theory I think would increase our damage by 50%. I think in theory, but like, you know, it's not like, oh wow, we increased our damage by 50%. It really is not that much. It's not that. We can't. That isn't much. 50% of what Ayaka's doing is not much, especially when you're already talking about all of her buffs, right? But that is one thing. We do not have a huge attack buffer on this team. I realized I gave this new character 15% crit rate, and we're probably going to have Cryo Resonance, and I'm now debating whether that's too OP. 30% crit rate and 60% crit damage. Do you guys think that's a little OP? I think it might be a little too OP. It might be just a tad bit. But then again, if we were to make these characters good, and the thing is, this would apply to all future Cryo characters too. This would have to be heavily restricted to the point where it's only in freeze teams. I think it would legitimately have to be. You might have to kick Shilonen off the team, because if you know, we're talking about making another Chevy. I mean, Shilonen would not fit the conditions of a Chevy team, right? You need only Pyro and Electro. Is it really? Yeah, when all party members are Pyro and Electro. That's the passive I was looking for. Like, this is really, really, really bad. Like, that is genuinely, like, wow. I just, you know, like, we could end up kicking Shilonen off, and I'm going to be honest, if we're kicking Shilonen off, this became a lot harder, because Shinha, I'm sorry to tell you, Shinha fans, but she's just not doing it as much as Shilonen is. Shilonen's providing res shred on every single hit along with damage bonus. There's just no competition. Shilonen's doing better overall in buffing Ayaka, man. I mean, I think I'm going to stick with what I have down. I think 60% crit damage, 60% attack, maybe 50% res shred. I'll stick with 50% res shred. I think, you know, res shred 50%, you know, then we have Shilonen here and she can, you know, mock up some other ones. Then again, if we got a lot of red shred on our character, that would devalue Shilonen quite a bit. Huh, that would be interesting. That would, because like Shilonen's buff comes a big deal with the res shred. So maybe we don't need another res shredder. But I think we could get like a 30%. Let's do 30% res shred for this character, right? I think double, you know, make her, you know, sort of there, right? Let's do 30% res shred. maybe up the crit damage to 100%, if I'm being entirely honest. Literally, I think this is what we have to do in order to make this character, like, make Ayaka become good again. I'm not joking. This is how insane power creep has gotten. Trying to specialize this support for Ayaka and make this Ayaka team, like, do really good damage, yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Then I think, I don't really know what else I said, but I'm like, I have it on the screen here. It's a lot. It is genuinely a lot. And I think this is what we would probably need in order to make Ayaka, like, a genuine, like, oh, yeah, she's a good run. Like, I don't want you to be like, oh, well, Ayaka's not meta. She's not that great anymore. No, I want you to look at Ayaka and be like, okay, shit, we can run Ayaka on this. No, I want that to be our reaction when we're using Ayaka, which is why we're going maybe a little overboard with this. But I think it's genuinely what we need to do in order to make this character, like, genuinely at that level again. And, you know, I just thought this would be a fun video to do. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy. If you really enjoyed the video, feel free to become a member. $5 a month, you get videos 8 to 12 hours early. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.